The seed of mercy that Catherine Macaulay sowed into the lives of the poor began to spread all across Ireland, England, and eventually the United States.
So a bishop from Pittsburgh, who was Irish, went back over to Ireland looking for sisters who would come over here to work with his people.
Irish immigrants poured into the United States with hopes of escaping the poverty that plagued Ireland. The Sisters of Mercy would play a vital role in the spiritual aid of these Catholic foreigners.
To help the immigrant peoples who were coming to the United States both acclimate to the United States experience and resist at the same time its highly Protestant culture, retain their Catholic faith.
Sister Frances Xavier Ward, along with 5 other sisters, were one of many groups that traveled by boat in their journey to the United States. At the request of Catherine Macaulay, along with the pleas of Irish bishops, Frances Xavier Ward's first stop was in Pittsburgh.
We have a very interesting history because there were 5 sisters who were brought here by Frances Ward, and they were all under the age of 24. And the oldest was the 24-year-old, and that was Agatha O'Brien.
When the Sisters of Mercy came from Ireland and landed, they came by ship, obviously. They landed in New York. The Bishop of Pittsburgh was there to meet them, but so was this priest from New York who had just been named the Bishop of Chicago, the first Bishop of Chicago. And he put in his bid right away, before they ever even got to Pittsburgh. And Frances Xavier Ward, of course, said, "In time, Father, in time." And they came to Chicago 3 years later.
Perhaps their greatest work and test of faith took place in Chicago. It is in this new city where institutions like the Mercy Hospital and St. Xavier Academy for Women were open to serve the sick and to educate young women.
Great quote from Frances Xavier Ward: "To instruct is an easy matter, but to educate requires ingenuity, energy, and perseverance without limits." And so I think that's what they had. They had ingenuity, energy, and perseverance without limits. And that spirit is what made them leave Ireland, come to the U.S., leave Pittsburgh, come to Chicago, and establish the first hospital in Chicago, establish St. Xavier Academy, establish the first orphanage in Chicago.
She's seeing there are people who need education. She sees that there are people who need shelter, who need food, clothing, what have you. And she and her sisters are trying to be with those people. And so in some ways, if you think about how sisters today want to be with the poor, be with those who are experiencing injustice, that's very much in the same mindset, I think.
Agatha O'Brien, like all of the Sisters of Mercy, sought to carry along Catherine Macaulay's desire to supply women with basic skills in reading, writing, arithmetic, and homemaking, while also instilling within women a sense of independence and dignity.
She came, and these 5 sisters actually turned Chicago upside down in the ways that were needed. For example, she started the Catholic school system while she was here. She also started the first Mercy Hospital, orphanage, and so she was very engaged and well needed.
The sisters were unique in their outreach and how they surrounded themselves with the sick and poor.
We became one of the first congregations that were known as sisters who could go out among the people. In the early days of religious life, sisters were in cloisters, or they just prayed, and they worked for their own upkeep internally, usually with gardens and selling things that they made or grew. And here, the Walking Sisters had a special permission from the Vatican to begin an order that would be among the people.
With the vision of being among the people came great hardships. Raging cholera epidemics sadly shortened the lives of young sisters as they ministered to the sick. Despite the hardships, the sisters never lost sight of the mission Catherine Macaulay instilled within them. In the summer of 1871, the sisters would witness yet another hardship, the Great Chicago Fire. Along with hundreds of homes and other establishments, St. Xavier Academy, which had been relocated to Wabash Avenue in 1847, was completely destroyed.
The building was destroyed, but no one was injured or killed in that, which was the biggest blessing of all, that the sisters were most grateful for, that no one was hurt. And so they had to start all over again, and that's what was the first reason for the move to 49th and Cottage Grove.
It was at this new location on 49th and Cottage that the institution became St. Xavier College in 1901. As more young women became interested in attending the institution, space became limited, leading to its relocation to 103rd Street and Central Park Avenue in 1956.
One of the concerns is that as the American Catholic population gets more mature, more financially stable, we're talking largely Irish Americans, some German American, they are becoming, they want to send their daughters to college too. And we're not talking a large percentage of the population, but what's the concern is they're going to send them to one of these non-Catholic, secular, maybe Protestant institutions, and they'll lose their faith.